Hi guys, Doc Wild here to talk to you about PPE, personal protective equipment, specifically about gloves today. It's very important that we understand how to correctly use personal protective equipment. PPE, when used the wrong way, can actually be quite harmful. So it's important to understand that glove use is not necessarily protecting you from the virus under most circumstances, and that the virus itself can live on surfaces of gloves for an extended period of time, potentially 24 to 26 hours, depending on what type of glove it is. So it's very important to understand that if you're using gloves for multiple different uses, for example, you've got gloves and you're touching many surfaces, you're actually just accumulating virus on the outside of the gloves and not necessarily doing any sort of personal protection, especially if you're touching multiple surfaces and then you touch your face, for example. Because remember, COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 gets into our bodies through the openings in our face, not necessarily through our skin. So gloves are not necessarily offering you increased level of protection from virus going through your skin, because so far as we know it doesn't do that, but they are issuing you protection from, for example, if you're doing food services, or if you're cleaning, or if you're touching surfaces that may be contaminated. Those are the times that you would use gloves, but remember not to wear them for long periods of time, and if you are, to make sure that you're cleaning them, which I'll show you how to do. So proper wear of gloves is important, and proper putting on and taking off of gloves is just as important, right? So first and foremost, and the most important thing always to stop the spread of this, is to remember to clean your hands, right? Before you even put gloves on. So hand sanitizer, that's 65% alcohol, and you've got to use the right amount, right? So don't use it too sparingly, or you're not going to get all of those surfaces. Make sure that you're going between your fingers, cleaning very well before you put the gloves on, right? And this is the most important thing that you can do to slow the spread, is hand hygiene always. The gloves should not give you a false sense of security. They may increase your risk if you're not doing this the right way. So these gloves are on a sterile surface. These gloves are clean gloves. They would have come out of a box normally. When you're taking your gloves out of the box, that box is considered a clean and sterile surface. They haven't touched anything else. This is a surgical chucks. It is a sterile surface, so these gloves are clean. When I pick them up and put them on, I'm going to try to avoid touching the ends, the finger parts, right? And just touch the very end of the glove where I put them on. Remember that a watch also can contain virus, so you may want to include the watch in the glove or make sure it's further away. And then you pick up the same way by the wrist piece and put the second glove on. These gloves are now sterile. Your hands are sterile. You've cleaned them, the gloves are sterile, until I touch something. The second I touch something, myself, my face, my hair, my mask if I'm wearing a mask, this is no longer sterile. I have now put potentially virus on the surface of these gloves, and like I said, the gloves are not protecting you from that virus. They're still on that surface. And if you touch your face again, for example, you can be shedding that virus. So it's very important to understand that you've got to be careful how many things you touch with those gloves. Don't be touching multiple surfaces. And if you do, you can actually go ahead and clean again on the outside of the glove with a hand sanitizer. But remember that this is not necessarily going to get into every crease and every fold of these gloves. It's a good idea, but you still need to be cognizant of the fact that these gloves could be holding virus on the outside for an extended period of time. Now to remove them, you're going to do it the same way. And remember that the outside of the gloves are the ones that are actually contaminated. I would clean my hands first before I take my gloves off. So we've just done that. And you're going to take it from the wrist and actually turn it inside out, right? So that the contaminated surface is now inside out. And then you do the same thing on this side. You actually fold one into the other. And now these gloves are burnt. You cannot reuse those gloves. And then last but not least, a good portion of hand sanitizer. And make sure that you're cleaning your hands very well. And don't forget the surfaces that were above the glove. My watch, for example. Make sure that your hands are good and clean after that. And that is a safe way to make sure that you are being protected while you're wearing PPE and that you're not spreading additional virus under a false pretense of security because you're wearing gloves, right? Remember, you can still spread the virus wearing gloves. You need to make sure that your hands are clean all the time.